You're listening to Oppositional Forces. Bad guys for good reasons. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Oppositional Forces. I am your host, Scotty Don't. And with me today, as is per our usual arrangement, the last frost giant from the frozen north, Mr. Frost. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. You become more of a kitten every time you do that.
Hi. Meow.
Today is going to be a fun day, so buckle up, strap on your thinking cap, because I want to talk about something that kind of gets lost in the monotony of your day, and that is that people are at every moment, around every corner, trying to screw you. They're out there, they're waiting, and every time you start to slip into the lull of, your monotonous day, they are lurking and hoping to catch you off guard. And of course, I'm talking about social engineering. Now, for some of you who are not familiar with social engineering,
You encounter it all the time.
All the time. And we're going to go into the specifics and the details. But essentially, social engineering, let's define the terms. Let's get that out of the way. It's the management of human beings in accordance with their place and function, right? You are manipulating people in the context of being a part of their daily life to gain something from them. Oftentimes it's data or access or favors.
Information.
Right. So the science used to obtain personal or confidential information, which can be used illicitly. Its intent is to take something from you that you didn't want to give in the first place. So marinate on that for a second, and we'll be back very shortly. All right, everyone, we're taking a brief moment to talk to you about one of our favorite sponsors. That's right. The Barber Collective is a Southern Utah mainstay, U.S. veteran owned, with an elite team of classically trained barbers for you to get that dapper do, professional fade, or a cut on the wild side. Competitive pricing with walk-ins available. You won't walk out disappointed that you tried The Barber Collective. Call today and schedule your appointment. Mention Oppositional Forces and receive your first cut on us. You can schedule online at vagaro.com/barberco. That's VAGARO.com/BARBERCO. Or call them at 435-922-8454. That's 435-922-8454. That's the Barber Collective. Don't let that do you wrong. Go see them today. Okay. I realized that maybe that was a little clunky in the beginning. Let me backtrack for a second. So social engineering, Mr. Frost. We use a lot of different methodologies to do what we do as bad guys. One of these is a wonderful toolbox full of easy to use tools that allow us to get close to people and things.
Right.
And that's the social engineering. It is a wonderful art form when done correctly that you don't see coming and you don't recognize it while it's happening. The people who are most susceptible to social engineering are people who have their day really dialed in. They perform, the same task over and over and over again. And so if you can recreate that task for them without raising a bunch of red flags, they're more than willing to step out into the darkness with you, holding your hand. Right. So, can you think of a time, when you encountered somebody trying to engineer you?
Well, it happens all the time. You can look at social media. I mean, your social media, it gets hacked, or, somebody. Let's take guys for instance. You're a single guy or whatever, and somebody hacks or makes a fake account and friends you, and they're attractive, and it's a female or something like that, and they message you right away, and start asking a bunch of information like, hey, are you single? Are you married? How many kids do you have? That kind of thing. I mean, that's a form of social engineering. I mean, even if you look at it from, some of you that know me know that I'm a flirt. Let's put it in mild context.
That was very kind of you to yourself.
We'll put it like that, but it's social engineering. How do I get all these people, whether it be a female or somebody in the industry or something like that? A lot of people ask, how do you know that person? They're like very hard to talk to, or they're very hard to approach. And it comes down to social engineering. I pay attention. If you see me out, I'm not the first one to walk in and start talking to everybody. I watch the crowd. I watch what's going on. I listen to conversations. And as I mingle through, and I will catch an opportunity, and I'll just say something that I heard from a previous conversation that may catch just the opportunity to spark it in their mind of like, hey, how's that guy know about that? Or where did he hear that information from? And it's because people like to talk about themselves. And I use that as a doorway to usually spark a conversation.
Right. Yeah. And that's a classic way of developing false trust, is when things that anybody outside of that inner circle or that business or community they don't normally know. And so if you can speak the lingo, if you know some insider information, shoot, you might as well, have cut yourself your own key
right
to the kingdom, because you're in like sin at that point.
Right. And that's, it's not false trust as it grows, because once again, if you know me, like I'm loyal to a fault. If we're friends, we're friends.
To a fault.
To a fault.
Like a literal fault.
Right. You will regret it sometimes, but at the same time.
I know you do.
Sometimes.
Letting them in.
Yeah, sometimes. This is true when it comes to women, for sure. But it does, social engineering is very useful. Let's take SHOT Show. I had to get something printed out.
SHOT Show.
I know. Freaking, if you need a minute, we can pause. Anyways, yeah, he's over here.
I love SHOT Show. If you know me, if you know anything about me.
I shouldn't have said anything. Anyways, I needed something printed out, and the hotel that we'd stayed at had closed down their business center. I went to the concierge. I went to the main desk, and everybody said, hey, you can't. And then the bellhop happened to say, hey, if you're a platinum member, you can go into the platinum, or not the platinum member, if you're a diamond member or something like that, you can go into the diamond lobby and they'll do it, but otherwise they won't. Well, I went into the diamond lobby and said, hey, I just need to know where I need to get on a computer to be able to print some stuff out. And without even missing a beat, the lady behind the counter was like, oh yeah, there's the computer, sir. Here's the password. Go ahead and log in and do whatever you need to do. Just don't forget to log out so nobody can get into your information. And there's a big sign on the computer that says for diamond members only.
Right. And just because you walked in, feigning like you know what you're doing and you belong there.
Right.
You're able to access somewhere that, they're trying to control that access. to their elite, high value people,
Right.
at least to their business. In the casino, it's all about, being their top tier,
Right.
7-star platinum, whatever's.
Right.
And so they want to bend over backwards for those people. So if you learn how, to talk like them, to act like them, to own your space like that, nobody's going to question you.
Exactly.
And so social engineering, it's a beautiful art form. It's a dance when done correctly. And there's a lot of facets to it. And we're not going to get into all of it. We're going to do a completely different episode for neurolinguistic programming. We might even do an entirely different episode for behavioral programming and have the author Kelly Allwood on to talk to him. I know he'd be down for that. And so this particular area that we're talking about is the one that's used the most maliciously, and it's used the most against the everyday person.
Right. It's the most commonly used for sure.
So listen as carefully as you can and see if you can identify the things you've already spotted in your life, the things that you're aware of. You're like, oh, yeah. I see those all the time. I've learned to ignore it, so that I don't become, a victim to what they're after. Because sometimes they're really clunky, right? Not everybody is a social engineering master. And that actually, it bends in our favor, because then it educates the masses in whatever the new scam is.
Right.
Usually, the scam.
The Irs Scam comes to mind right away.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have it in gift cards. I mean,
your social security number has been deactivated.
Yeah.
If you would like your social security number free and clear, you must pay your back taxes of $500 in Walmart gift cards.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Hold on. Walmart gift cards.
And
who is this?
If you don't, we'll have an officer come to your house.
We will issue a warrant for your arrest. Like, that sounds exciting.
Right.
Do it.
Right. I'll be waiting. You got my address, or do I need to give it to you?
Right. And that's how they collect, information from those scams. Now, they're done successfully at first by people who are legitimate artists. And I can't speak highly enough of these bad guys, because they're the ones that work these things out. They're the ones that design these scams. And it's not until you're getting that guy who calls himself Bob, who lives in New Delhi, claiming to be from Ohio, at the IRS office, that's when people start to pick up on this stuff. When you get a clear, clean, articulate individual on the phone who can speak eloquently about the problem and say, hey, Scotty, don't, calling from the Ohio office for the Internal Revenue Service. How are you doing today? Oh, good. Huh? If I know 5 things about you, and I can develop that super easy, because all of you idiots, and I mean that
Including
lovingly, all of you schmucks love to post everything about yourself on social media, where you live, where you work, what neighborhood you live in, what your kids' names are, what grades they go to. We've harped about this, dozens of times at this point. So hopefully at this point, as we continue to peel back the layers, you realize, oh, okay, so there's a lot that this can be used for, right?
Right.
All I need is, a couple of little tidbits of information about you, and then I can hold your hand, through any one of these different scams and get you to bite.
Right.
It's not that hard. So we're going to get into the meat and potatoes here. And while we're going through these, try to identify the ones that pat yourself on the back for recognizing them, for, having become aware of them. I definitely recommend that everybody takes some type of information awareness assurance class. You can do it online. They're free.
Right. They're a bunch.
There's a bunch of them. They're all over the place. I'm not going to recommend any particular one and favor one over the other because to be honest with you, I haven't pulled that stuff up. The Marine Corps gave it to us on a more than annual basis at some point. Their ability to train is very high. Their ability to track that training is very low.
It's like shot records.
So you can complete your information awareness assurance training, and this is like before they started coming out with, I forget his stupid name, the little digital avatar dude that was in charge of it for several years. Whoever got that contract,
I don't know. I'm salt.
Yeah, you're
salty dog.
You're older than the internet.
Yeah, I'm old school. We had stuff mailed in, and we had to complete the book and send it back in.
But as the years went on,
that's what it's called.
And these systems were being developed online, and these scams, the education became greater. So I've gotten this stuff a lot, especially having a communications MOS. But for those of you that have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about when I say
loose lips shinks it, I can't even say it. That's like rubber baby bone.
How much alcohol have you consumed today?
None. Maybe that's my problem.
That's your problem.
But yeah, I mean, loose lips sink ships. That's what I was trying to say.
Exactly. So try to identify the things that you already know. If you've taken IA training before, that's awesome. If you haven't, please, climb on your web browser. Don't use Google. Don't use Yahoo. They're all garbage. I recommend going to Brave because they don't collect any of your data. And Google, is the biggest culprit of all of these scams. They get you to give them everything about you. At this point, if you've been using
information to these people,
if you've been using the internet for the last, 10, 15, 20 years, they've got more than 3 million data points about you. They know everything about you. They know what you like, what you don't like. So anyway, I'll climb off my soapbox. So
that's why I don't have to search so much on Pornhub.
If you can't see my face right now, it's one of both disgust and
cringe. It's like, you had to say it. I had to.
I hope someone reprimands you. It won't be me, but
anyways.
So there's a bunch of different types of social engineering, and I'm going to kind of glass over each one and give you a little bit of a breakdown, but it's really up to you to take the breadcrumbs, pick them up, and start digging deeper. Like, follow those breadcrumbs, that we're spreading out today, and develop a real understanding of what is out there. And depending on what you do for a living, how you interact with the internet, what type of social and business environments you're a part of, and recognize where you are most vulnerable. So do some IAA training, listen to this and maybe take some notes and say, okay, I want to figure this one out a little bit more because this is more relevant to me than the other ones. So phishing, and not bass fishing, pH phishing, very different from the pH version of fat. This is a particular type of social engineering with kind of this wide net approach to collecting your personal data, passwords, or trying to gain access to your network or internal intranet, whatever it is. Phishing is a scam in which the social engineer is attempting to get you to use your credentials for what normally would be a trusted site. Google, the landing page at their work computer, an email that looks like an official portal, to their regular back office or whatever it is. And they're hoping that you use your username, your password, your I forgot my password questions and things like that in order to attempt to gain access to what you think is the correct portal or website. But instead, you're handing it over to them because it's theirs. Usually you can spot these, especially now, like we say, because, the guy in New Delhi is the one who fabricated this website. Oftentimes there's grammatical errors, there's spelling errors. The word choice is really poor.
Listen up, Marines.
They can't read.
I know.
If they could read, they would be very offended.
Right.
Thankfully for them, this is all in audio. Cause
That's why I'm saying, listen up, Marines. If it looks funny, it's probably correct. If it doesn't look funny and it makes sense to you, it's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's the opposite for the rest of you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So there's several different types of phishing, but the main type of phishing, it's a very broad brush. And so, they're hoping that you will give them what they need, and then they will use that to access your accounts, to access your database, your terminals, your portals, whatever. It's pretty good when it's done correctly, and you can find yourself in some pretty hot water pretty fast. So if you have like a dedicated work email account, usually it's, Outlook or something like that, and it's an enclosed email system. If you're getting emails from someone, with an email address that's like a letter off from everybody else, like Brian the second at, I don't know, pick a business name, thehomedepot.com. I don't know. I've been to Home Depot a lot lately. But if they spelt depot with 2 E's, that if you don't recognize who's trying to contact you, someone who's posing as someone from the IT department, somebody from HR, whatever it is, the scams are wide and varied. But keep an eye on the little subtleties. And there's ways to verify. If you don't recognize someone's name, you can look them up in the work Rolodex,
directory, whatever.
The work directory. You can call that office at their direct extension and say, "Hey, is there a Brian? The Brian the second or whatever, that works there?" And say, "No, nope." Then there you go. So, and then report it. The most important thing about all of this is that not only recognize and protect yourself against the social engineer, but then make it harder for their second attack. Report it to your IT department, report it up the chain of command, whatever the case may be. Like, hey, we've got somebody, attempting to, access our stuff. They sent me this email. They'll say, okay, we'll be right down, and they'll open an internal investigation and turn it over to whoever is in charge of that stuff. So there's different types of phishing. That was the broad net, the broad brush. There's spear phishing. That is a targeted attack, usually towards a specific group. So the marketing department or a specific person, the HR manager, in order to get a hold of something very specific that only they have access to. Or they're targeting a specific entity. So, in those cases, it's a much more complex scam. It's much more closely tailored to whatever it is that you do or who you are. And if they did their research, they'll know the lingo. They'll know, pretty much where you keep the thing that they want or what the thing is that they're after. Usually it's not just, really broad attempt to try to gain access wherever they can. Usually they're looking for a specific server or a specific hard drive, specific files, things like that. So that's the spear phishing. Then, and this is for the executive protection guys. This is for the high net worth guys and gals. That would be whaling. Whaling is a type of phishing. And I'm not talking about what you do at the bar when it's 2 a.m. and
we used to call that hogging in the Marine Corps, and there was money involved.
But whaling is a scam that's targeting the CEO, the CFO. They are after the celebrity, the lead, on a specific project. They're going big time. So they are working a very complex scam. They've usually done a handful of smaller ones to build up to that, so that then they can target that person in particular with all the other information that they've collected. Now there's vishing with a V, vishing. That is voice phishing. That's doing phishing on the phone. So rather than emails and links and things like that. And then you have smishing, and that's SMS text messages. Man, you passed it off to me. Now I've got like 4 tongues.
Welcome.
And oftentimes, especially with smishing, you'll get very complex looking URLs, links and things like that. It says, hey, your package is delayed from Amazon. Click here to figure out where it is. It's usually super simple, and it's something, that you're doing on a regular basis. So people who order a lot of stuff, they'll pretend to be the U.S. Postal Service. They'll pretend to be FedEx. They'll say they're from the local radio station, and your phone number was picked out of a hat, whatever. So, those are things that people seem to know the best. You get them all the time, and people learn to sort through that stuff. But also, something that you should be aware of is that people can spoof their numbers. And so now, yeah. And I love number spoofing for a myriad of different reasons, because I'm a giant troll. But number spoofing, I can spoof my way past a lot of different caller ID systems to mimic somebody else's contact information. And so your phone, when I'm calling you or texting you, is going to make it look like I'm this other person, and I'm not that other person. So you have to have your eyes open with all of this. If somebody sends you a random link and they say, hey, here's that link I told you I was going to send you, turn around, take a deep breath, call them. Don't text that number back. If the voice doesn't sound familiar, say, hey, I'm about to walk into a meeting. Can I call you back in a little bit? They'll try to argue with you. And, oh, no. I only have a minute as well, and I'll be gone the rest of the day. Hang up and then call your regular contact back, the real contact. And it will connect not to the spoof because they don't have that kind of access unless they're super elaborate and they've cloned phones and all sorts of fun things. And then you're screwed.
That's some CIA level shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's some serious hacker stuff. So, I mean, but if you're protecting a high net worth individual and you're getting that kind of attention from that kind of hacker, you already have different things in place, different devices and machines and programs and apps, that are there to try to help protect you, protect your client. So that's the phishing world. Don't trust anyone. Call, verify, go talk to somebody in person, whatever you got to do. If you're getting something and it's not something you specifically asked for, it's not something that you've talked to them about before, be suspicious. It's a weird world that we live in, and it's okay to turn around and spend 30 seconds to verify something, then clicking on a link or filling out information, on a portal that you got on, linked to from your email or something. And now you're in a world of hurt because, people have now infiltrated your.
See, that's why I have so many email addresses. And it's not
the tiers of emails.
But it's not because I have been, attacked. It's because, hey, send it to this. Because I'll know specifically, hey, I talked to this person and it went to this email.
Right.
I don't send it to, bad guys, for hire, because then if I send it to that email, I have to worry about, okay, is it going to affect everybody else within us?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or is it going to be one of those things? I'll send it to some Google address and look at it and go, oh, what kind of information are they going to get? They try and hack that email. They're just going to get spammed like they're trying to spam me.
Right. They're going to get into an email. I use a tiered system. So I have the super disconnected email address. That's my bottom tier. I will give you that email address if I never want to hear from you again, because I don't look at that email.
Right. I don't even pay attention to the count of emails. That's
not the junk folder. That's the junk email address. Like I know you're going to sell my stuff, to advertisers and stuff.
Or you're just going to spam me with all of your stuff that when we talked, you could tell I was completely and utterly uninterested, but
right.
I just was humoring you because I had to.
And then, I've got, the third tier email, which is like a Yahoo email, which, also gets very little attention. Then I've got my Gmail, and that's where, I'll do kind of all my good housekeeping stuff, bills and accounts and things like that. And then I have a work email.
Right.
So something for you to kind of think about, ways of redirecting traffic away from your normal attention, your normal focus, protecting yourself. Use different passwords for everything. Change those passwords at least every quarter. I know, I know that's a hard one for people, and don't use some sort of sequential system where it's the same password, but you use a 01 for January and a 02 for February at the end of it, because those are easy to guess. And nowadays they have software that is cheap and sometimes free, both on the regular web and on the dark web, that can sniff through and run passwords millions of times a second, and they'll be in your stuff in no time. The other thing that you can do is make your best attempt to throw people off the scent. So if your security question is, what was your first car? Don't put your actual first car. Put the make of the car company you hate the most.
Right.
Okay. So my first car was a Opel, and then people are like, they're looking at your stuff and, oh, he talked about on this, or, his first car was that 78 Camaro and he loved it, and let's try Camaro. Nope. So you can throw people off the scent like that. Anyway, so phishing, protecting yourself. Another type of social engineering is pretexting. This is a scam that's causing the target to comply with the attacker under false pretenses. Much like the phishing, where you think you're interacting with a trusted source, but usually they use some sort of authority figure. Just like Mr. Frost was talking about a minute ago, you could be pretending to be someone from the IRS. You could be the cops, some other important persona, the HR department at work, whatever.
The IRS will send you letters long before they call you.
Yeah, I don't know.
The only time the IRS will call you is if you're having an actual appointment with an auditor, and the auditor will call you. That is it.
And they send you mail first with IRS letterhead.
Right, and their phone number.
Right.
So that it will be able to be identified.
I had an instance like this when I was with 2nd Amphibious in Camp Lejeune. I got a call on the work phone at my desk, and I answer, and it was this heavy Indian accent. It was pretty heavy. So that was my first clue. And they were looking for one of my Marines, claiming to be from the NYPD. He had a warrant out. He got in trouble, a few months back, and they're trying to track him down because they've got this warrant because he picked up a fine for something, and he just has to pay his fine, and then the bench warrant will be thrown out. I'd never heard this line of attack before, but I knew right away, just knowing people in law enforcement, like, this is not how this is done. Nobody calls your work extension, at your Marine Corps office and is attempting to get you to pay. If they have found where you work, they obviously have your cell phone, they have your address, they should have everything. So my moron of a Marine probably listed his work phone number on some sort of some phishing scam, and thinking like, oh yeah, if this doesn't pan out, if this is some kind of scam, they're just going to call the office. And sure enough, they called the office. So
smart on his part, actually.
Whenever
to deal with it.
Whenever somebody calls you from a position of authority, say, hey, listen, I totally want to comply. I want to be as helpful as I can, but I need to step out for a minute, and I will call you right back. If they are in that position of authority, their phone number or the general number to those offices will be there. Take their name. They'll fight you tooth and nail because they know that you're going to call the number that gets you to the actual IRS, or the phone number that gets you to the actual HR department, or whatever it is, the non-emergency number at the local police department. And at that point, they've been had. Oh, no, I'm going to step into a meeting, or no, I'm just going to come over there and I'm going to throw irons on you right now, blah, blah, blah. Don't buy into it. Don't let people muscle you around, because that's the game. That's the social engineering part, is they try to use, these different pretenses.
No, pretext.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I'm right. I was right the first time. Yeah. Look, I don't know what you're wearing off on me or something. This is contagious.
It is.
Get away from me. 6 feet, man. Social distancing.
You can't even say that.
I'm all thumbs right now. So, they'll try to backtrack. They'll try to, work with you on the phone. Look, trust but verify, right? Turn around and go to the source and flesh it out so that you know what's going on. Because typically, when people are contacting you and it's some sort of grave situation, that situation is not going to change in 5 minutes. It's still going to be the warrant. It's still going to be the HR. It's still going to be whatever it is, if that's what it is. So people who actually are in those positions and they have something important for you, they're going to be just fine, with, oh, okay, yeah, no, you gotta cover your bases. It's like a cop at the door, hey, I need to see your credentials first. No, you can see the badge right here, buddy. No, I know for a fact that you have a photo ID in your pocket that you have to carry as a credentialed law enforcement officer.
Yeah, a badge is not credentials for anybody who seems to think that's what it is.
Right. I need to see your credentials, not your badge, not the gun. I need to see your credentials. Right. And they know what that means. If they're a plainclothes officer, and now if they're a uniformed officer and they've got the patches and the black gear and everything on, like, you can extrapolate, that you are talking to legitimate law enforcement.
Well, yeah, but let's use your instance of like, I'm with NYPD and you're in California.
Right.
And you're in black gear and a uniform. It's like, you came all the way.
Yeah,
you're from New York as a B cop to serve a warrant.
Right. You're a little out of your jurisdiction.
Yeah,
actually, that was one of the things that I asked, because we have special forms in the military when people are attempting to defraud or scam you, and it has a list of questions on it. And I was filling this thing out and asking this so-called NYPD officer, these kind of general questions. And it just kind of clicked in my head as I was talking to him. And I said, hey, what precinct did you say that you were from? Now, any officer, that's their house.
Right.
That's where they work.
Especially in New York, because they got a fucking gajillion of them.
Right. And so your precinct, because that's your daily place of work. And he told me something like Upper East Side or some stupid thing like that. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's a numbered precinct. And at that point, I'm sitting there on the computer, like looking up, NYPD precincts. And yeah, he's just feeding me a whole bunch of gobbledygook. So I just kept writing everything down that he was saying and turned it over to our base, people who handle that stuff. And so be suspicious, right? Let's move on. Baiting. Baiting is sending something out to lure people into your attack with the promise of something free or interesting in hopes of providing your credentials. So usually they'll offer you like a downloadable video game or like a pre-release song download or a gift card.
Although marketing.
Yeah.
Shot show in the patches.
Like, hey, here's $10 to Target, or whatever it might be. And they'll dangle this carrot out in front of you and they'll say, hey, create an account with our group or company, whatever, put in your email address and your password, blah, 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 blah. Most idiots use the same password for every damn thing they do, because they don't want to carry around a little black book of passwords in their pocket.
Just kidding. There was a time. I will be honest, there was a time, but no.
So you're giving them your email address and then the password to your email address, because it's the password you use for everything. So now they're in like sin, right?
So I have to tell a story real quick. It's a valuable story to this.
Story time.
So I was new to the security industry as far as the executive protection world. I was looking for jobs doing protection. There was a gentleman that reached out to me, and it was all through email correspondence. And I mean, it seemed really legit, like super legit. And what had happened was he's like, okay, so you're going to be doing this and you're going to be doing that. And you're, in the EP world, you generally will travel. especially if you're licensed in that state or whatever, or you don't need to be licensed or however it works. Anyways, he said that I needed to create a USAA bank account, and I had to give him my account information and my password for that specific account information.
Smells fishy.
Yeah, so that he could help manage that money, even though all he had to do is direct deposit. We would have been fine. And I was like, wait, why would you need that information? That doesn't make any sense to me. And he's like, oh, well, because it's government funds. And I was like, well, USAA deals with a lot of government employees and former government employees. That doesn't make any sense. He's like, well, if you don't do this, then we won't give you the job. And I was like, well, clearly it's not a real job if you can't just do direct deposit.
Yeah. I mean, I've been paid via Cash App before on jobs, but at least it's something mildly reputable. I'm not proud of it, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But no, you don't share that kind of information. People that are trying to sniff out things about you, it's not always as straightforward as I need your direct bank account information and your passwords and your codes so I can manipulate this one account. They want to know your social security number, your home address, your phone number, your date of birth, your mother's maiden name. They want to know everything about you so that they can do all kinds of things.
Right. But that was the whole thing is I was in the process because he was pretty legit when it was like coming down to it because he'd sent me an application and I was starting to fill that information out.
He was talking the talk, huh?
Yeah. And I was like, wait, this just doesn't make any sense. And it dawned on me that literally I had just heard about this like a week previous and it clicked in my head, in my freaking Swiss cheese brain that people were doing this, and essentially you give them the password. Well, they take over your bank account, and because you've signed up for everything, they have control of your bank account, and they start running for credit cards. They start opening accounts. They start doing a bunch of stuff under your name, and there's nothing you can do about it because they've changed all your information of security questions, passwords, even emails.
Yeah. By the end of the night, they're using two-party verification with their phone number.
Right.
And, you'd have to beg, borrow, and steal, to ever get back into that kind of stuff. Right. So, that's a perfect example of like spear phishing. Right. I mean, you were a direct target. They were speaking your lingo for your industry. They wanted something very specific from you. And I'm glad you saw your way out of that one because you have enough problems. I have enough problems.
I'm not going to lie. I am definitely not the sharpest fucking tool in the shed. And I know that. But
hey, but everybody needs a mallet every now and again.
Right. Hey, Donkey Kong. I'm all about it.
So, baiting, and these things can be very complex, so he was using a baiting tool by offering you a job. And another way to bait people. Now we just came from SHOT Show not that long ago. SHOT Show. And
patches.
We were getting all kinds of stuff.
Stickers.
Now I carried around in my pocket, for the whole week, this thumb drive that one of the booths gave me.
I didn't get a thumb drive.
Well, so it was a thumb drive with all of their the purchase catalogs and stuff built onto it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the last day and I was going through all the swag and I was just looking at this thumb drive and I was like, there was a QR code at the booth, that you could follow the QR code to their website and you could
get the catalog.
Yeah, you could download the catalog from there. So I tossed the thumb drive because you just never know. This is another really unique type of baiting. People standing out on the street corner, handing out their demo albums, like, hey, listen to my music. Back when CDs were a huge thing, people handing out thumb drives at a conference, things like that. You have to look out for those kind of things, especially places like SHOT Show, where
it's a huge trade show, actually tool for marketing that was really big for a long time.
I mean, half the people that are there are some form of either industry professional that works with the government and government contracts and the military and law enforcement, or they are the military and law enforcement and government agencies.
Right.
So what better place to be raining thumb drives on people in hopes that someone's going to take that thumb drive back to their laptop that night, plug it in, and you've got it preloaded with malware that just wiggles its way through. You think that your corporate level firewall, whatever it's called, the antivirus software and stuff. They specifically build these things to not recognize or to ignore commercial grade malware.
Right.
Commercial grade malware is designed for your boss to watch what you're doing. It's designed for your spouse to watch what you're doing.
See what kind of porn you're looking at. Or if you're on ashleymadison.com trying to have an affair.
I remember that Ashley Madison scandal. What was that, like 2011? 2010, something like that?
That website's still going strong.
Oh, I bet it is.
I'm a member of it. But anyways.
I remember they had .mil emails.
Oh, yeah.
People were using their .mil email addresses so they could surf Ashley Madison.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a rabbit hole for another day.
Smoke pit.
But, this malware, the commercial grade malware, will just sneak right past, Windows Defender, Norton, McAfee, however you pronounce it. Rest in peace, Mr. McAfee. And then they're in, and they can, pull out whatever they want, or it's got a keylogger, or it's taking screenshots of your screen on a regular basis and sending it out through a ghost email.
See, I'm going to say this, and because a lot of DoD computers now have the key card scanner where you have to plug your badge in.
Cat cards?
Yes. Because that is well after my time.
Common access cards.
Here's the thing. That's how they can actually steal your information from your cat card. Because with those thumb drives, because you have to plug your cat card into your computer to make it work.
Oh, right. Yeah. So your credentials are built into that chip.
I can clone your credentials from that thumb drive.
Ooh, scary.
And that's something that I want to hopefully some of you to really pay attention to.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact that there's a few of you that are listening that even though you're in the background, I know you're listening. I know you're listening, and I appreciate you listening because you drop subtle hints of things that we say here that I don't say anywhere else.
Yeah. And so, these different types of attacks, especially like we were talking about with baiting, it's just different ways to get you to participate in their attack and give them something. Social engineering is all about the comfort man, the con artist, right? Some of these are short cons, some of these are long cons, but it's a digital world that we live in, and the bad guys are sitting behind a computer learning it twice as fast as you are.
And ladies, this is something to pay attention to. It's real easy for somebody to get into your phone or get into your laptop, especially some of you that pack around laptops everywhere, and you don't cover that camera.
Standard issue for a new laptop. I bought my wife a laptop for Christmas, and standard issue was the little camera lens cover, the little slidey cover. Oh, you got to have that. Just right off the bat. Because I've been hit with another type of social engineering, which is the scareware or ransomware.
Right.
I got hit with that years back, and it took me a minute.
Like freak out minute.
Yeah, sure. The FBI logo
pops up,
took over my screen. At first I thought it was a blue screen of death in the first like half second, because it was this whole blue background. And the FBI logo flashes up on the screen and says, "Warning, like your computer has been detected as carrying child pornography, on it. And here's your picture." And my fucking picture was right there.
Yeah.
Like my face staring at my computer. And I was like, what has happened? Couldn't do anything. It totally had locked me out. The ransomware, I had to take it into a professional and have it, totally cleaned up and cleaned out. And man, I was so pissed off at myself. I don't know what I clicked on or touched or, you go to these stupid
sites. It's porn. It's porn.
It's not.
It is.
It's not.
Shut your mouth.
You go to,
we all know.
I was sitting in the living room. My ex-wife was sitting right next to me when it happened.
That has nothing to do with it.
It could have been in there for hours before. I don't know.
But I'm just saying, like,
I'm a grown man. Leave me alone.
Right. I don't judge. I mean, it's a normal thing as long as it's a controllable normal thing.
Right. But they know how to do it now.
Right.
They know some of the best places to go are these, seedy little holes in the wall in the internet.
Right.
And they pay for advertising and clickbaity stuff, that's on the three, different margins of the website. And even by accident, because those things, as they're loading, things jump all over the screen.
Especially being everything touch screen now. I mean, you could just be flipping the screen with your finger and you click it.
Yeah.
And you don't even know you clicked it. And then all of a sudden the screen opens up. I have that happen actually quite a bit on my tablet.
Yeah.
On my iPad. I'm like, where did this come from? I don't even look at that kind of stuff.
Right. I keep forgetting that I have a touchscreen laptop and I'll see some dust because I'm OCD as hell. And I'll go to swipe it off and I will just totally screw everything that I was doing.
Right. It's gone. It's deleted.
I'm not particularly tech savvy, if you can't tell. So those are a handful of the digital attacks. There are ways to better protect yourself. Of course, it's always trust but verify. The best thing that you can do for yourself is, if something sounds super official and super important, you can reverse engineer your way to talking to the real people and verify. If it's the cops, if it's the IRS, if it's your HR department, it doesn't matter. You can turn around and you can call the legitimate number that's listed on your legitimate, Rolodex or recall roster or a Google, even though I hate Google, your Google search or whatever to, the non-emergency number or the customer service number. You can call that and get it taken care of. And if it's legitimate, you can get it taken care of, and anyone who answers the phone can help you, or they can redirect you back to that case manager or whatever it is.
If it's a cop anyways, I would advise calling the non-emergency number, and they will patch you back through to that same officer.
Mm-hmm. Take his name down or hers.
Yep. And they will either patch you through
right to their cell phone,
or they will give you their cell phone.
Yeah. Their work number.
Their work number. And, if it's the same person when they answer, there's no love lost. And to be honest with you, if you tell a cop you're going to call them back in 10 minutes and they're not in the middle of something, they're happy to sit for another 10 minutes than go chase down the naked crackhead down the street.
So that's the digital side. real quick, I want to touch on the physical side. And this is more of my bread and butter. This is something that I'm a lot more familiar with because penetration testing for me is much less about the computer. I see. Don't. Okay, do it. No, don't do it.
You said penetration.
Okay, thank you. 5-year-old sitting here next to me. It's past your bedtime.
The sad part is if I had said it, he would have done it too.
Yeah, probably. Welcome to the bad guys. Okay, guys. So the physical side, of the social engineering world is more of what I am familiar with. And we are going to talk about that here in a second. But first, check out our friends at Smash Labs Rage Rooms, a Southern Utah exclusive with franchise options available. You won't find another adventure spot quite like this. 5 axe-throwing lanes with a variety of edge weapons and their special Rage Rooms, where you and your friends can work out the day's frustrations by smashing TVs, home appliances, and all kinds of glassware, big and small, and an ever-evolving range of ceramic and miscellaneous items sure to thrill the senses. Call them today and schedule your date night, special event, or even large private parties. Visit their website at www.smashlabs.biz and check out all their special pricing packages, or call 435-359-2214. That's 435-359-2214. Walk-ins welcome. That's Smash Labs Rage Rooms. Okay, so I want to talk to you about tailgating and piggybacking. These are some of the best ways I use and have used and will continue to use to gain access to places I'm not supposed to be. Tailgating.
Adventure time.
So tailgating is when you're following an individual into a secured area, or, through a door or past a bodyguard or security officer, whatever it is. And you are following them without their knowledge, but utilizing their credentials. So if they had to badge at the door, if they had to show their backstage pass, whatever it is, I'm following just close enough. And I do this at the airport a lot too.
I know.
I will follow that person so they don't know that I'm following them, but so that anybody else who's observing, who's the physical entity, the physical barrier, to check, people's credentials or access, or making sure, the unauthorized people are kept out, that I look like I'm with them. So I'm close enough so that everybody else who's watching is like, oh yeah, no, he's okay. And sometimes I will quietly point to the person and I will mouth, I'm with him or I'm with her. And people will just accept that. It's amazing. If I have replicated somebody's pass or badge, and so at a distance it looks like, I also have access, they hit, the door or device with their actual credential badge with the RFID chip in it. And I will walk through with them, just kind of dangling mine in the face of the officer as I walk through, like, no, see, I got one too, but I'm not waiting to badge in. And boom, I'm in. That's tailgating. Okay. And now maybe you understand why. The other one, piggybacking, that is going along and they know that you're following them. So let's say I'm standing at the entry, couple feet away, and I'm smoking a cigarette, wearing a suit and tie. I'm in front of the IBM offices, and I'm sure they have much more complex security than this, because I've worked for some of these companies, not IBM, but I've worked for data before, and they do have quite complex systems. However, for example, they badge into the door. I toss my cigarette and go, oh man, the rain really sucks today. Makes me really, feel like an idiot for being a smoker as I'm grabbing the door from them and not badging. Or I pretend to badge and then continue on and follow them through. So that's the piggybacking. Piggybacking is a great way because then if I can get your trust in that first 5, 10 seconds of interaction, as we're walking in, if there's any other physical barriers, as long as I know enough lingo and I say, something to the effect of like, hey, Peggy on 3rd floor is having birthday cake today. As we're walking through these barriers, I look like I belong there. The guy that they see every day or the gal, is walking and talking with me. And now I'm associated with that person. Now I get the all access pass. The way that you can defeat that is by being rude. And we've said this before, be a dick. Hey, do you mind if you badge at the door? I'm going to pull this close really quick. I just, everybody's got to use their own credentials, right? Oh, yeah, of course. And then I start patting up my paw. Oh, you know what? I left my badge in the car. Like, yep, thanks. And then I'll just wait for the next person to see if I can hit it again. But if you're smart, you'll turn around and say, hey, will you watch this guy on the outside of that door? I think he was just trying to piggyback on me. And then boom, I'm burned, and now I've got to find some other clever way to make my way in. So tailgating, piggybacking. Another great one is the quid pro quo. I would make a political reference about quid pro quos, but I won't. I guess I just did. It's Latin for something. Offering a favor or a service for information or access. I am posing as an IT employee or a vendor or a contractor for the company, and I say, hey, I'm getting this notification on my computer that your system is having a fault. Can you do me a favor and log out of your system and talk me through what you're putting, in your credentialing? Because I'm getting this weird feedback on my end, and I want to make sure that your keystrokes are matching with our, algorithm system or whatever. Just speak some stupid technical jargon at them that makes sense for the industry, whatever. And, you're sitting there and you say, oh, okay. You're like, look, man, I don't have a lot of time. I'm doing you a favor here. Otherwise I'd make you come down and do it right here in front of me. Well, no, I can't do that. I've got too much work to get done today. Well, thanks for helping me out. I'm doing them a favor, or so they think. So they're going to do me a favor. They're going to give me something for it. Works like a charm. And this is something that, once again, you need to verify. Hey, absolutely. What's the extension at your phone number? I've got a bad connection here. I just want to call you on my second line. And you hang up, dial the extension, make sure it's them. So there's a great way, to defeat that. On the other end of that is, I hesitate to say my favorite because it is my favorite, but I'm making my best attempts to make this like correct, not politically correct, socially correct. Help me out, Mr. Frost. Honey traps. For those of you who know.
Okay, he's going to be, Scotty is concerned about, how people view and how professional Scotty is. And I can respect that 100%.
I think it's the most, okay, let me rephrase. I think it's the most interesting form of social engineering there is.
Okay, but here's the thing, a honeypot. There are women out there that will use sex and looks and They'll sleep with you for information.
Isn't that what sex is?
No, I just mean they will go along with, let's look at the Russians. Let's look at the Israelis. Let's look at, the French. The French. The Swedes. The UK. There's even a movie. What's the movie with what's her name in it?
Sparrow something, Red Sparrow,
whatever, Black Sparrow or whatever it is.
I think it's Red Sparrow.
Whatever.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah. Anyways. Okay, but she's a honeypot. Literally attractive woman can get information, and it is very intriguing, and that's where they learn the social engineering moves of how to get your attention, what you want, how to manipulate you to get what they want, whether it's distracting you with a blow pop, meaning BJ, as she's like, hey, I don't mind doing this, but go in the bathroom, clean yourself up a little bit because I don't know where you've been, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And your laptop's sitting in the hotel room, and she plugs her freaking USB in there, and then it only takes something stupid like a foot or something to block that door, and it runs its download, whether it's malware or taking information or whatever it is. She gives you your BJ, and she goes on about her business, and she has all your data.
Yeah. You see a lot of this with celebrities and high net worth individuals. They will get honey trapped online. Oftentimes it's a catfishing scam, right. But just as often there is a legitimate woman that you can interface with, talk to on the phone, FaceTime with, whatever, that uses romance, not just sex.
Right. Romance, e-connection,
whatever. And I'm sure that there's nudes and things like that involved. And all the better if they can get you to reciprocate, because then they have digital, ransomable,
right.
Stuff that you don't want released. So
unless if you're single and you're
they can blackmail the hell out of you.
I don't know. I kind of feel like it can be used, but it's kind of dead and gone using that kind of information unless you're running for a political office, or you're, I was actually kind of having this conversation.
Or you're married and you don't want to be taken to the cleaners because you didn't have a good prenup.
Right. But I had this kind of conversation in my head earlier today when I was on my hike. I was thinking about that of somebody trying to blackmail me in the aspect of I've had a seedy past. I know I have. I've used drugs. I've experimented with a lot of things. Yeah, I know.
Mr. Frost, no.
Gives me this shocked look. Anyways, I used to wake up on golf courses naked when I was in the Marine Corps. Come on,
Hoorah.
Yeah. On base, officer golf courses. Anyways, yeah. 45. Anyways, but I'm just gonna say this of anymore. I think people have kind of rationalized of people have smoked weed before. Somebody's dropped acid. You know what I mean? They're clearly not strung out like somebody's son that's lost laptops and freaking done a bunch of crazy stuff. People are human, and people are responding to that of oh, he's not pure and white and innocent anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not going to vote for him or whatever that case may be. And I kind of feel like unless you're married or, you have some kind of strange something to uphold anymore, if you're single and somebody tries to use that of I slept with him, cool, he's single. You know what?
Yeah, it's like that guy
got caught up, he's wealthy. I'd sleep with him too, and I'm a dude. Shut the hell up. You know what I mean?
What's the name of the guy, the owner of Barstool Sports? I forget his name. He's had like a handful of sex tapes get released.
Right.
And he's like proud of them.
Right. And that would be.
He's like, what? I got laid. What do you want?
Right. But that would be me, my mentality of like, I'm a single dude. Like, what?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Like, yeah, she's a strikingly beautiful woman. You know, if she was married just like a man, like, I don't know. It was a one night thing. She decided to put up some kind of camera or something like that, or her husband was filming it from the window thinking they were going to blackmail me for some money. Well,
right.
That's their kinky fetish of wanting to watch me take care of his wife. Like, that's my mentality of like, well, there's your 15 minutes of fame, whatever. I'm a single dude. I'm not hurting anybody by having consensual sex.
Yeah. So the honey traps, the honey pots, you know, like Mr. Frost was saying, it can be used, you know, as both gaining access, like you said, with your laptop, you know, sometimes your ID badge or something, they can sniff your RFID cards.
I kind of feel like for a honey pot or honey trap anymore, especially in our industry of the EP industry, would be to gain access to a bigger fish.
Right, to hit the client.
Yeah, to be like, oh, he's going to a party, and I know I can seduce this dude where I'm going to be in the same space as this other guy.
Right.
And my actual target is somebody else.
It's also a great place, you know, to hit somebody, you know, in the EP or somebody's secretary, because there are male honeypots out there.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Honey traps. You know, hit somebody's personal assistant or secretary or something like that to get somebody's schedule. That is it's another type of physical. Well, there's physical and digital versions of the water cooler. Right. The water cooler is a type of access where you linger somewhere that you know that your target's going to be at some point. And then because you are already there, you immediately look like you're supposed to be there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the perfect example of what I talked about earlier of me being able to be in some of the crowds and circles that I've gotten into.
Right.
Because I do hang out. Yeah, I'm supposed to be there.
Well, it's like the smoke pit at SHOT Show.
Right. Well, it wasn't this year for sure.
Well, yeah, it was a little...
I mean, but, you know, years past, you've told me stories of it. And that's the whole thing is that's how I get in with people. I literally, because people like to talk about either their industry because they're proud of it or about themselves. And I will nitpick through that and go, okay, that's viable information because I know they will talk to me about it. Look at that guy from the EMP company. He saw us down in the casino. He actually was a Navy SEAL, you know, and when I first looked at him, I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. And then we see him at the show at the smoke pit and he's got a trident on his collar. And I'm like, if this dude's trying to pull wool over somebody's eyes and he's got a trident on at SHOT Show, like that is the most brazen move ever. Not that people wouldn't do it, but I mean, that's like a legit thing when you have a business or part of a business that sells to the DOD. Like you don't want to have that controversial, especially in that.
That's the place
group.
You're going to get sniffed out at if you're not real.
Quickly.
So, social engineering, you know, it has so many of these different little offshoots and facets to it. It's definitely something that you want to better educate yourself with. This is just the tip, just so that you can gain a general understanding of what's out there, and hopefully, you know, us bringing this stuff to your attention might make you, you know, jump forward into some information awareness training. Maybe you want to reach out to us and we can help walk you through some of the different ways that you can better prepare. And I hope that this was, you know, beneficial. Mr. Frost?
Yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out. Like if you have questions, honestly, please don't hesitate to reach out to us on the email, or if you want to reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, if you have that personal information or whatever, message me. I'm available. Like, I will sit and talk to you. And if I don't have that information, I generally know where to get it. And if I can't get it, I'll be honest with you and tell you I don't know, or it's way out of my pay grade, but it may actually open my eyes to something else of like, oh, here's something new to explore for me to learn something new. I mean, I'm super excited. Here in the next month or so, the podcast is probably going to change a little bit, recording wise. I'll probably be more of a phone-in thing than I will be anything else, but that's due to work.
It's going on a trip.
Yeah, for a couple months. But nonetheless, I mean, I'm always available. I don't do a lot of things for free, but I really would like to see people start thinking outside the box. And if I can help start that momentum and get you thinking outside the box, the more free you become.
100%. All right. Well, let's blow the door and get the hell out of here.
Fire in the hole.
I used to hate that. Somebody starts blasting something and then they yell it because they realize they forgot it when everybody hits the deck.
Yeah, that's why I said that.
Hey, thanks everybody for being a part of Oppositional Forces. Don't forget to go to our website, badguyforhire.com. Hit that Patreon link. We are at patreon.com/oppositional forces. Please, for the love of God, subscribe, throw a couple of coins to your witchers. We're out here fighting the wolves and demons, and in an effort to bring valuable content to you. If you like the stuff, if you like listening, if you're listening just because you're doing us a favor, do us a second favor and subscribe to our Patreon. Mr. Frost is terribly expensive, and he needs all the nice bougie things like hotel rooms and food, and it's ridiculous.
I am pretty bougie when it comes to a room.
Well, I mean, we ain't staying at no, $39 a night Motel 6 because I don't want to stay up all night, staring at the door, waiting for it to get kicked in.
What's sad is that I would probably sleep like a baby if we did.
with the gunshots
baby,
and
like a baby. I'd be like, oh, high threat. Oh, okay, we're comfortable now. Okay. I'd be more uncomfortable with the fact of thinking, the bugs are clawing on me. That's the worst part. Anyways.
Yeah. And we are looking at getting into some subscriber options on Patreon. So as soon as we can start breaking some real numbers, then we can start doing some cool stuff. I'm thinking swag, apparel, maybe, even having, somebody on the show, shout outs, things like that. So let's get that ball rolling. Let's do it. Do it now. Anyway, thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Oppositional Forces, Wage War, and Stack Bodies.